Annyeonghaseyo. Good morning to our friends and guests in Korea and Asia. Good afternoon and good evening to our delegates and guests from across Canada, US, and Europe. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Welcome to the opening day of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada's first Canadian women-only virtual mission to South Korea. I am delighted and very proud that the Foundation is able to host this virtual mission, which I believe is the first of its kind for Canada dedicated to women entrepreneurs. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight when most of the world is glued to their televisions on activities south of the border. But this event will perhaps give you a break from the coverage overload that we've been exposed to for weeks and months now. My name is Christine Nakamura, Vice President of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada's Toronto office, and your host and MC of this exciting mission, which will take place over the next 2 days. Today, we are meeting in a global digital space with participants from all over the world. And I'd like to acknowledge that the places Canadians call home are the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Before we begin, I'd like to remind participants of a few housekeeping matters. First of all, this webinar is being recorded. Please use the stage chat box to post any questions you would like to ask the panelists during the Q&A. Instructions on accessing interpretation into French and Korean languages are posted on the reception or welcome page. All other housekeeping matters are posted on the event chat box. For technical support during the session, please contact Sean Jones at asiapacific.ca, and it's spelled sian.jones@asiapacific.ca. Today's event is scheduled to conclude at 9:15 p.m. EST. COVID-19 has had a profound impact on economies around the world, including Canada's. Small businesses, the backbone of Canada's economy, have and continue to bear the brunt of the pandemic, with a disproportionate share being endured by women-owned and women-led SMEs, or small and medium enterprises. With the second wave of infections upon us, threatening to shutter revenue-generating activities once again, it's anyone's guess as to how many small businesses will survive this winter. So it's within this context that the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada decided that it couldn't sit back and wait for a vaccine to revive our February 2020 plans to lead the first Canadian women-only business mission to South Korea. By spring, it was evident that international travel restrictions would not be lifted in the short term. And so our team took action and pivoted to organizing a technology-enabled virtual mission. A virtual format cannot replace the value and impact of an in-market mission, but we have done our best to include most of the components of the in-country model, including a 2-day conference with inspirational speakers, a pitch session to enable our delegates to showcase their innovative products and services. We've scheduled personalized business-to-business or B2B matching sessions for all the delegates, and they are being scheduled to the end of November. And networking opportunities for everyone attending this evening. We believe that the virtual program is the next best alternative to helping our delegates grow their businesses during these extraordinary times. Additionally, to further increase the delegates' potential to succeed on this mission, our team organized 4 training sessions for delegates in the month preceding our mission, addressing gaps they identified in their understanding of the destination market. Experts provided sessions on general market information, provisions on Korean trade law, and IPO protection policies, government support programs for Canadian women entrepreneurs, and the use of a geographic information system, or GIS mapping tool on South Korea, which we developed in-house to provide political, economic, and cultural information, as well as market intelligence necessary to take advantage of the growth market. The mission highlights care industries, dovetailing 2 strategies for advancing women's economic and social opportunities: to promote women entrepreneurs in STEM sectors, traditionally underrepresented by women, and innovative commercial solutions that offer support to the care and lifestyles of children, people with disabilities, and the elderly. We focused on care industries because Canada and South Korea are both graying societies, creating economic opportunities for bilateral collaboration. Seniors in Canada now exceed the share of children, and in South Korea, people over the age of 65 outnumbered youth under 14 for the first time in 2017. South Korea's fertility rate fell to a record low of 0.98% in 2018, and their working age population has begun to decline, with a projected reduction of 7.5 million working age people by 2040, shrinking its potential for economic output. One key solution to declining populations and economic growth is to increase opportunities for women's economic participation. With the shift to the virtual mission, we were able to increase the number of delegates, and I'm pleased to announce that after a careful review of applications received, we have selected 24 inspiring and talented women from across Canada who own and lead businesses that have potential to scale in the South Korean market. Delegates represent 3 sectors of healthcare, life sciences, education technology, and nutraceutical products. The Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada is hopeful that targeted outcomes for our delegates will be achieved given the enthusiasm with which the delegates participated in the training sessions and the individual efforts exerted by them to prepare for this mission. Before we move on, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors and supporting organizations, the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund, the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, Air Canada, Global Affairs Canada, SheEO, Venture Labs, and NCSoft and NC West. Without their generous support, this virtual mission would not have been possible. And now we are honored and privileged to present to you a special video message from the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to officially open the first Canadian women-only virtual business mission to South Korea.
Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining this historic virtual trade mission to South Korea, along with our Minister of Small Business, Export Promotion, and International Trade, Mary Ng. I know this isn't how we typically participate in trade missions, but as many of you know, the COVID-19 crisis has forced us to change many of the things we do. It's business and entrepreneurs like yourselves that have risen to this unprecedented challenge through creativity, innovation, and resilience. And while we weather this crisis, we will continue to be here to help you grow your business and access new and emerging global markets. On ne laissera jamais la COVID-19 nous empêcher de promouvoir les entrepreneurs et les entreprises du Canada dans le monde. Parce qu'on sait que le monde a besoin de l'innovation canadienne et que votre réussite est notre réussite. Voilà pourquoi, lorsque la pandémie a frappé, on a pris des mesures immédiates pour aider les entreprises à payer leurs factures et à garder leurs portes ouvertes. Today's virtual trade mission will help pave the way for you to expand your business in South Korea and across the growing Asia-Pacific region. You're all stepping up to take advantage of this opportunity for growth, to help create jobs for Canadians, to drive our economic recovery from COVID-19, and to build a more competitive country. So thank you for being here, and please know that we will continue to support you and your business through this crisis and beyond. Ensemble, on peut bâtir un Canada plus fort et plus résilient. Je vous souhaite une excellente fin de mission. Encore une fois, merci. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And now it gives me great pleasure to call upon the Honorable Pierre Pettigrew, Chair of the Asia Pacific Foundation's Board and Executive Advisor International at Deloitte Canada, to make welcome remarks. Pierre, over to you.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Christine, and a very good morning to our friends in Korea Good afternoon and good evening to our mission delegates, friends, colleagues, and guests across Canada. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Bonjour à tous et à toutes. As chair of the board of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all participants near and far to this very exciting first Canadian women-only virtual business mission to South Korea. For those who do not know the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada, we're a non-for-profit organization established by an act of parliament focused on Canada's relations with Asia. Our mission is to be Canada's catalyst for engagement with Asia and Asia's bridge to Canada. What a terrific opportunity this virtual mission provides to catalyze meaningful economic, business, and policy engagement between Canada and Korea by creating bridges between women leaders from our two countries. It is our hope that the engagement this virtual mission catalyzes and the bridges created by our discussions and meetings will be deep and long-lasting and will lead to increased economic opportunity, economic dynamism, economic prosperity in Korea and in Canada. The Canada-Korea Free Trade Agreement, Canada's only bilateral free trade pact in the Asia-Pacific region, will provide a supportive framework when, in the days and weeks following this mission, Canadian mission delegates and partners in Korea get down to the business of making agreements, structuring partnerships, exporting, importing, and investing. I am delighted that the Foundation is leading this virtual mission, as the time is right for bringing our two countries closer together and for promoting women's economic empowerment through strategic, intelligent, and targeted investments in growing the capacities and maximizing the potential of some of our most talented women entrepreneurs. While Canadian women-led small and medium enterprises are traditionally focused on the domestic market here in Canada, a critical mass of Canadian women companies have for several years been diversifying into new markets. And what an excellent partner for Canadian women-led companies South Korea will be. It is an open, mature, middle-sized economy that values innovation, technology, and collaboration. And under the leadership of President Moon Jae-in, it is making progress in the promotion of women's economic empowerment, just as Canada is doing through the initiatives of Prime Minister Trudeau's government. By advancing gender equality and women's participation in the economy, Canada could add up to $150 billion in GDP. The Foundation is very proud to be contributing to those efforts. In closing, I would like to reinforce Christine's earlier thanks to the supporters of this virtual mission. Without your support, our efforts to catalyze closer business ties for Canadian women entrepreneurs with Korean partners would not have been possible. To the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy, led by Minister Eng and her colleagues, thank you for your support. Thank you to Air Canada, and thank you also to the many organizations in Canada, in Korea, we've worked with to help shape and promote this mission. Thank you very much. Merci, merci beaucoup. And to the impressive group of Canadian women delegates from many parts of our country, my very best wishes for successful discussions and business meetings. Good luck. La meilleure des chances. Kamsamnida.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you very much for that. And now I'd like to call upon Ms. Janice Fukaksa, Vice Chair of our mission, Chancellor of the Ryerson University, and member of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada's Asia Business Leaders Advisory Council, to introduce our first keynote speaker. Janice, over to you.
And good evening, good morning, or good afternoon to all of you. I have the honor of introducing Canada's Minister of Small Business, Export Promotion, and International Trade, Mary Yang. First elected Member of Parliament for Markham Thornhill in April 2017, Minister Ng was appointed to Cabinet in July 2018 as Minister for Small Business and Export Promotion. After being re-elected in November 2019, she expanded her responsibilities to include international trade. Prior to serving as a Member of Parliament, Minister Ng served as Appointments Director for the Prime Minister and as Executive Director for the President of Ryerson University. I have known Mary for decades, and promoting Canada and helping our entrepreneurs and businesses grow and access new markets is in her DNA. Her parents, like mine, were successful entrepreneurs, starting up their businesses to support their families and communities. Mary has lived firsthand what it takes to make entrepreneurs successful. So it's no surprise how passionate she is about providing opportunities for entrepreneurs to grow, scale up, and promote Canada through trade missions such as this one. A big welcome and virtual applause to Mary Ng.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Bonjour et bonsoir à toutes. What an exciting day. I am always so thrilled when I get a chance to meet with some of Canada's most amazing women entrepreneurs. What a lovely introduction, Janice. Thank you so very much. I would like to, before we begin, acknowledge that I am on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin people. And I'm very pleased to connect with you from the various territories and communities that you are in. And I want to congratulate and to thank the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada for hosting this very important and timely event, and Janice for your leadership in co-chairing. I would also like to thank Pierre Pettigrew, who, of course, is very familiar with the shoes that I wear today. He served as Minister of International Trade and Foreign Affairs for Canada. So I'm so thrilled to hear from our good friend Pierre, and very glad that that you're with us and you've been able to share some of your insights. And to the Asia Pacific Foundation, you're hosting this trade mission and you're giving the businesses here today a real opportunity to get on the ground, if you will, albeit virtually, in South Korea. So we're thrilled to support today's trade mission with our government's investment through the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy. And while COVID-19 has changed our plans from doing this mission earlier this year, this virtual trade mission is a demonstration of our commitment to helping you succeed even amid this global pandemic. You just heard from our Prime Minister Trudeau, who I know is just as committed as I am to ensuring that this business trade mission is a success. And as Canada's minister responsible for small business, export promotion, and international trade, my focus always is on helping Canadian companies start up, scale up, and to access those new markets. We know that the best way for our country to recover from COVID-19 is to make sure that businesses like yours have the tools and the resources to grow and to access the international market and to succeed. Canada is a trading nation, and trade continues to be critical for our future success. All of you are helping in the Canadian and the global economic recovery. And for that, I am grateful. And your participating in this virtual trade mission is terrific. Here today, you are incredible women business owners from all sectors. And it's wonderful to have all of you here in that dynamism and in that expertise that you bring. One of my very top priorities has always been to ensure that trade benefits all businesses and across every sector. So I'm really happy to see the wide variety that's represented on this business mission. I'm also really glad that our first virtual trade mission is with South Korea for many reasons, but because Canada and Korea truly have a lot in common. Now, 5 years ago, we signed our first free trade agreement in the Asia Pacific, and that trade agreement was between Canada and Korea. This historic agreement has meant some of Canada's top producing sectors, including agri-foods and fish and seafood and industrial goods, are are able to find markets to be able to grow and to access those new customers. And of course, today we have many of you who are looking to expand into an area in the Korean marketplace where I know your hard work is going to pay off. And of course, thanks to this agreement, Canada and South Korea really will continue to grow our strong economic relationship, not to mention the strong people-to-people ties that we already have. Just to give you a sense of progress on the economic relationship, last year alone, two-way trade in goods and services have gone up by 30%. This has meant countless new opportunities for our small business owners to sell their world-class products, services, technologies into this dynamic and growing market. But all of us here today know that while international trade can help businesses succeed, not everyone has benefited equally from these opportunities. And this is true for women-owned businesses. Today, only 16% of all Canadian small businesses are owned by women, and only 11% of these businesses are exporting into the international markets. This is untapped potential. You heard Pierre say this earlier, so it bears repeating. We know that Canada could add up to $150 billion to our economy simply by advancing women's economic empowerment and making sure that women are fully included in our economy. And worldwide, this potential is up to $12 trillion to the global economy. So this is why Canada launched its first women's entrepreneurship strategy. It's a nearly $5 billion investment to break down barriers to women's economic success with direct financing and expertise, as well as dedicated support for Indigenous and racialized women entrepreneurs. So if you look at those numbers, an up to $5 billion investment for what is a potential return of $150 billion, I think that is terrific return on investment and one that we're so pleased to have made. But this is also why today is so important. This virtual trade mission is going to help all of you take advantage of our trade relationships. It's going to bring more extraordinary women like yourselves into the South Korean market and into new global markets in the region. We need to make sure that the right resources and supports are in place to help more women entrepreneurs navigate the complexities of international markets. This includes getting access to capital, negotiating contracts, connecting with buyers and suppliers, sourcing that talent and expertise, and expanding your networks. It's why we've taken a Team Canada approach under the umbrella of Canada's trade team. This trade team is impressive. It includes the Business Development Bank of Canada, most commonly known as BDC. It includes Export Development Canada, commonly known as EDC. It includes the Canada Commercial Corporation. It includes Invest in Canada. All of these tools are here to help your business grow and success. Now, our trade team also includes the formidable Trade Commissioner Service, or TCS, who operate in 160 countries around the world. They can help you with funding, support programs, connections around the world. The TCS also has dedicated supports for women entrepreneurs, like the Business Women in International Trade initiative that is providing advice and guidance tailored specifically for women entrepreneurs and business owners. And just this morning, the Prime Minister and I announced that the Can Export for SMEs program, which is operated by the TCS, will and traditionally has helped entrepreneurs break into new international markets with grants up to $75,000 to cover travel costs and other expenses. But in the midst of COVID-19, we're pivoting this. We're pivoting this to cover costs that will help you expand your e-commerce presence, attend virtual trade shows, those virtual business-to-business meetings, and to navigate the new COVID-19 related trade barriers. It will now also include dedicated support for Indigenous entrepreneurs and women-owned small businesses just like yours. So I encourage all of you to explore these resources that are at your disposal in the weeks and in the months to come. Canada believes that the best way to help people and businesses around the world recover from this pandemic is through inclusive, rules-based trade and investment relationships. and the full and equal participation of women in the economy is essential to our shared recovery and to our future competitiveness and prosperity as a country. But no country can do this alone. This is why we have been working with our international partners to remove barriers to women's participation in international trade. Just this August, with my colleagues from both Chile and New Zealand, we signed on to the Global Trade and Gender Arrangement. We're committed to bringing more countries in to join this arrangement and working to promote more women in international trade and to create more opportunities for women-owned businesses just like yours in all of our economies so that we can grow and recover from this pandemic. Now, events like the one we're at today does not happen without a lot of planning, hard work, and vision. They don't happen certainly without all of you who are participating. So thank you for being here. I would like to give a special thank you to Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada once again for arranging this virtual business mission. And I want to also to thank all of you for being a part of such an important event. And I know that we're starting this, we're going to learn a lot from it. And while this is our first one, it certainly is not going to be our last, but without you, we wouldn't be here today. So merci beaucoup. Thank you. I am looking forward to a terrific trade mission.
Thank you very much, Minister Ng, for sharing important information about available support for Canadian entrepreneurs, and especially those led by women. Your words of encouragement and insightful advice to our delegates will undoubtedly inspire them to work even harder to grow their businesses. On behalf of all small and medium-sized enterprises from coast to coast to coast, thank you for your leadership and commitment and to helping entrepreneurs survive and thrive, especially during these unprecedented times. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our mission chair and president of NCSoft and CEO of NC West, Dr. Yun Song-Yi. Dr. Yun is responsible for developing the globalization strategy for NCSoft, a leading South Korean video game developer. Published games include international hits such as Lineage, City of Heroes, and Guild Wars. Dr. Yun's discerning vision has helped expand its operations into countries around the globe and to pivot NCSoft in new directions, including research into new technologies such as artificial intelligence. Having lived and worked in male-dominated environments, Dr. Yun is unsurprisingly passionate about diversity and inclusion and is a strong advocate of equal opportunities for women. NCSoft's on-site, state-of-the-art, and most importantly, tuition-free nursery school for children of employees, created by Dr. Yun, is ranked as one of South Korea's best, if not the best, nursery school offered by an employer. She created this nursery school to help ease the burden of childcare on women employees. But a collateral benefit of attracting talent from far and wide to work for the company has also been realized. This celebrated care facility offers an envied academic curriculum driven by tech innovation, focusing on early stage introduction to foreign languages, and not surprisingly, mathematics and science. With 50 caregiving educators for 200 children, women employees can continue to work after childbirth without feelings of guilt and confidently pursue careers as working mothers. Dr. Yun is a graduate of the prestigious Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, or better known as KAIST, named the top university in South Korea in 2019, and a PhD recipient from MIT in computational neuroscience. She was named to the Wall Street Journal's 50 Women to Watch in 2004 and is currently the chair of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada's Asia Business Leaders Advisory Council. So with no further ado, I'd like to ask Dr. Song-Yi Yun to make remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Christine. Greetings, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of the Asia Pacific Foundation to the first virtual Canadian women-only business mission to South Korea. Thank you all for making the time and effort to join us for this historic women-only business mission. We're joined by some amazing women from Canada and Korea who represent a diverse group of businesses and industries, and we each have our own unique stories about how we found success, overcame odds, and are in the roles we are today. But what I imagine is a common thread for all of us here is that getting to where we are today was made much more difficult solely because we're women. And our work over these next few days will focus on what we can do to break the cycle, promote gender equality, and focus on caring societies. The common perception for women in business reverts back to the tired cliche of glass ceiling. But looking at those of us here today, it's evident the ceiling is very breakable. And in fact, data has shown that in a study by McKinsey and the Lean organization that across more than 600 companies, female representation in the C-suite has increased by 20% since 2015. Companies committing to gender diversity is up, and senior leaders being held accountable is up, and female sponsorship is up, and flexibility and family-friendly benefits are up. This upward trend is always nice to see. But the most crucial issue facing getting and keeping female talent in the workforce isn't the cliche glass ceiling, but as Lenin puts it, it's the broken rung. The broken rung is exactly what it sounds like. A fault in the corporate ladder for women not being able to climb out of entry-level positions and becoming managers start their career in earnest. As we move into an era where it has never been more available for women to reach the C-suite, we're still failing female workers by not helping them get to a stage where they could have a direct path to higher corporate positions. The stopgap at the managerial level is one of the biggest obstacles to achieving gender parity in the workplace. And the problem with the broken rung is that it's largely an unseen issue. The broken rung is a real issue in South Korea, but it can be addressed when more women are at the top and in a position to make decisions. The country, which carries the baggage of inequality, can make significant changes and progress when dedicated female leaders are in charge to level the playing field. I see this as an opportunity. Since South Korea is so behind on this culturally and policy-wise, it also poses a great opportunity to jumpstart growth by creating a culture that is fair and inclusive to all the genders. Today, I'm the president of NCSoft, a global digital entertainment company headquartered in Seoul. Being a woman while being an executive of a company gives me a unique perspective. One of the main reasons I'm here today is because during my tenure as a leader at NCSoft, I witnessed countless of our talented women employees struggle with fully realizing their potential at work due to childcare obligations. Beyond witnessing the all too familiar feeling of a woman being asked to choose between her career and family, from a company ledger perspective, we're losing all the experience and talent we've cultivated and employed because we are failing to give them the option to be able to not have to choose. Our two countries have had a free trade agreement for just over 5 years now, the only one of its kind for the Asia-Pacific region. Our two countries also understand the value that caring can bring to a society. How supporting children and their caretakers in the early stages of their lives, how focusing on higher education and backgrounds in science, technology, engineering, and math, and how promoting healthy solutions for our day-to-day lives can benefit an entire country and its economic growth. Most female entrepreneurs you will meet in Korea have a very strong sense of responsibility and a willingness to make changes, even against the odds, because only those women who have a strong mindset and commitment for making changes could force themselves as leaders in that kind of environment. There cannot be any doubt that valuing diversity, equity, and inclusion enables sustainable economic development and the progression of humanity. I believe a combination of support systems and more progressive and assertive female talents' participation in economic development will help us take a leap to harmonious and sustainable development that we all would like to achieve. I wish all of you find this business mission critical and invaluable as I do. It is also my great pleasure to serve as a co-chair of the mission, and I hope you find this web seminar series useful and informative to lay a strong foundation for your successful business partnership in South Korea. All of us in this room today are committed to working for the betterment of our countries and our businesses, be it through information and communication technology, biotech, AI, supply chain, entertainment, and lifestyle technologies. With our unique agreement between our government, I hope this next few days are productive for discovering more common grounds between us as individuals, entrepreneurs, and leaders, and how we can learn and share solutions, policies, and other ideas for how to better care for both our business and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Song-Yi, for an inspiring presentation and keynote speech. I'd now like to suggest that we take a short health break, because after the break, we have an excellent bilateral panel of experts who are actively providing support to women entrepreneurs, and they will talk about their journeys and why they got into the business of helping women, small and medium-sized enterprises. So please be sure to return on time. And I would say at 7:45, we will take a 5-minute break, and we'll see you all back here in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. Today's expert panel includes Ms. Vicki Saunders, founder of SheEO and Radical Generosity, a global initiative to radically transform how we help financing of and celebrate talented female entrepreneurs. Dr. Yoon Song-Yi, who you already met, and Ms. Tanya Van Biesen, Senior Vice President, Global Corporate Engagement at Catalyst. Prior to her current role at Catalyst, Tanya was Executive Director of Catalyst Canada. Following remarks from each panelist, Minister Ng will join the panelists for the Q&A and discussion session, which will be moderated by Ms. Van Biesen. So over to you, Tanya.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm delighted to be here. As Christine said, my name is Tanya Van Biesen, and I'm joined by Vicki Saunders and Song-Yi Yoon. And I would like to invite Vicki to join in to share a little bit about her story and the organization that she leads.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you to the Asia Pacific Foundation for this awesome virtual trade mission. This is the way that I like to travel. It's great. I'm really pleased to be here on behalf of Team Canada and Team SheEO. I'm an entrepreneur, have been an entrepreneur my whole life, essentially. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. And I've been an entrepreneur in Prague, in Europe, right after the wall fell down, in Canada, and also in Silicon Valley. So I've had a lot of experience in becoming an entrepreneur, getting innovative ideas to market in a lot of different environments. And I've been very curious about what are the conditions that you need to create for innovation to flourish and for people to get those dreams that they have inside of them out into the world so that we can see everyone reaching their potential. So that's kind of my inside desire to be part of all of this. I was a tech entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur from the very beginning. I've always been fascinated by how you can create new business models that create good, as well as making money at the same time. And that wasn't always a cool thing. I'm now in my 50s and nobody talked about that years and years ago. It was like, make your money and then give it away after. And I've always been really obsessed with how you can actually transform what business has looked like in the past. And to me, this is actually so much more important now because a lot of our business practices are highly extractive and create more inequality in the world. And I think we have to radically transform the way that we're doing business and how we're doing business. So that's sort of at the meta level, what I believe to be true and what is needed. And then when you come and you add in women to this mix, as a female entrepreneur, as a woman entrepreneur, I've had every kind of funding there is. And I've been through incubators and accelerators and been in all kinds of business relationships and witnessed how incredibly unfair and how stacked the deck is against women pretty much everywhere, but also very much in business. And nothing bears a better sort of example of what this is than this data and the statistics around funding women entrepreneurs. So for those who don't know, 2.2% of venture capital goes to women. 51% of the population gets 2.2% of the funding. This is statistically impossible to happen unless there are massive biases built into our systems and our structures. So when I looked at how could I transform getting money into the hands of women entrepreneurs, I knew it wasn't just go create a women's fund or go create a women's technical assistance program or go create a women's mentorship program. The system itself, everything in society is conditioned against women thriving. And so we have to really rethink the entire systems level of what we're doing. And so as I was trying to figure out how to tackle this problem with the idea for SheEO, we've come at this from a very different perspective. We view money and finance as a renewable resource. We've designed it so that the money that we're contributing to ventures that we're loaning out to entrepreneurs continues to stay and flow. So the idea is a little bit different, so bear with me for a sec. In each country that we're in, hundreds of women in that country come together, and this idea started in Canada. Women contribute $1,100 each. It's pooled together, and then it's loaned out at 0% interest to entrepreneurs who are working on the UN SDGs, which our short form for that is the world's to-do list. All of our capital goes towards businesses that are working on the major challenges we're facing. And if you're not familiar with the SDGs, they're things like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education. So we have entrepreneurs applying to SheEO who are working on solutions to all of these challenges. They get a 0% interest loan, and then they pay that back over 5 years into the fund, and it's loaned out again. So we're building perpetual funds in each country we go to with the money just constantly rotating forward like it's a renewable resource. What is actually a bigger part of our model is that all of those women who contribute capital then roll up their sleeves and get behind these ventures that they select to help them grow their business. So built right into our model are women who have, so I have lots of connections. I'm helping the ventures all the time get connected to who they want to. There are women who have expertise. We're all using our buying power. Women make 80% of purchasing decisions. So we're in there buying the products and services of these ventures, and we're amplifying what they're doing in the world and sharing it with our networks to help these businesses really grow. So instead of just the sort of traditional way of, here's money, over to you, figure it out yourself, we vote for ventures that we're extremely excited about. They get the capital, but then they get all of us on their team to help them build their business. And this ecosystem-based approach has been an absolute lifeline during COVID. In the last 9 months, we have just seen an incredible welling up of support across our community. Not one single venture in our portfolio. We have 73 ventures in our portfolio. Not one of them has gone down during this time. When the pandemic was first announced, we brought all of our ventures together within a couple of days, and we had a global call, and we very quickly triaged who was red, yellow, or green, in trouble, cautious, and doing okay. And then we started to make sure our resources were moving to the ones that were most challenged. One of our ventures hires people who are at risk of homelessness to do laundry for major restaurants. And she has this amazing social enterprise model. And all of the restaurants closed on that first day, and she lost 95% of her revenue. And so she came onto that call super shaken, thinking, I can't lay off people who are actually at risk of homelessness. What am I going to do? And she was very teary and welled up about it. One of the ventures who was on the call said, what do you need? And she said, I need some time to get through and to pivot this model. And so she said, money's on the way to you right now, and loaned her money so she could stay open. And we've seen things like this over and over. Another venture of ours has a zero waste grocery store, the first one in Canada, that got a ton of press all through the US as well with this model that they have. And as soon as the pandemic started to really, we realized it was going to be a while, we weren't able to go to stores that had sort of bulk food with these zero waste approaches. And so one of the women in our network, who is one of the funders, said, I have a great connection to help you get online. Let's put your entire store online, which they did in record time. And she pivoted her entire business and is now growing and has hired 13 people to work in this. So we've just seen the sharing of resources across the community in this ecosystem-based model is just amazing. And this is really how business used to operate, in these community-based ways where we would all come together and support one another. And so we call this entire process radical generosity. And it's a model that is now, it started in Canada in 2015. We're now in 5 countries, and we have 70 countries in the pipeline. We'd be very excited to go to South Korea if there was interest locally for this kind of a model. But it's a real rethinking of how to get capital and resources out to women entrepreneurs so they can really thrive. In terms of what's next for us, we are very much focused on how we create the conditions for this concept of radical generosity to really sort of ripple out in our communities. So we've started to do these weekly calls in every country we're in. People come onto the calls who are activators and ventures in our community, the women who contribute money and the ones that we're funding. And we practice asking and giving. So each week, what do you need with your business? How can I help? What resources can I share? Lots of us are well-resourced and want to support these kinds of businesses that are creating a better world. And so this idea of we have everything that we need around us is something that we really hope will ripple out across all of society, so that we share our resources with those who need it most, with those who are working on critical global priorities. And this is absolutely the opposite of a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in the traditional VC space, the venture capital space, where we put $750 million into a company that's getting faster, hotter pizza to you. This is actually something that was funded by a major VC. I mean, the money that we're spending on things that are not critical priorities doesn't make any sense to us in our community of radically generous women. And so all of the resources we have go towards the world's to-do list and to supporting women with great ideas. Every country that we're in, the vast majority of our economies, in Canada, it's 98% of our economy is small and medium-sized business. In the US, that's 90%. In the UK, it's about 95%. In each of these countries, we have to find new models to get money to small and medium-sized ventures so they can grow. And this isn't traditionally happening in banks anymore, and it's not happening in the venture space, so we have to create new models. And so I hope that there's going to be lots more experimentation in this space. One of the things, you're going to meet a couple of our ventures who are on this trade mission with us. We're very excited about the work that we're doing. And thank you very much for having me on this panel.
Vicki, thank you. You are a reminder to me and hopefully to everyone on the call tonight that if women ruled the world, we would not be in the pickle we are in today. So thank you for that. And obviously we're looking forward to meeting the ventures tomorrow. I'd like to now invite Songyi back in to tell us a little bit about her journey and share a bit more of the NCSoft story. Songyi.
Thank you, Tanya. Hello, everyone again, and thank you for joining us for this panel today. We are here to talk about something near and dear to our hearts, the importance of female talent in the workplace. Growing up, I remember frequently being the only woman in the room. Whether it was a robotics competition or math Olympiad, the science high school that I wanted to go did not admit only female students for 6 years following its inception. We all struggle to be seen, not as weirdos or given unwanted attention because of our looks. We wanted to be treated as peers. Through the earlier stages in my career, I found that same sentiment that we as women just wanted to be treated as peers echoed over and over again. South Korea certainly has come a long way since the 1970s, when women had to resign from the workplace as soon as they got married. However, the childcare and housekeeping burden are predominantly shouldered by women, regardless if they're working full-time or not. And time again, when I was too young or too junior to speak up about such matters, I saw male business leaders discount suggestions from female employees, even tenured, respected employees, because it was too much hassle. I saw true leadership establish itself when they're brave enough to challenge the inequality, to listen to the difficulties that their employees face, and to have the courage to actually go out and implement change. A simple example, at my alma mater, they offered on-site daycare for employees. But daycare strict hours 9 to 5. And untenured female professors who desperately need networking after hours could not really participating in those networking and the presentations of the academic visitors from around the globe, because they had to run to pick up their children before the daycare closes at 5 p.m. The broken rung, the break that prevents women from climbing the ladder of their career, is insidious in all of its manifestations. HR leaders strongly identify too few qualified women as a key issue frequently, but not even 20% of them identified women are less likely to be promoted to first-level managerial roles as an issue. It is easy to point to the top of the ladder and say there aren't enough women there, ignoring the complete lack of pipeline to even give women a chance to reach the boardroom. The first solution to this, and this one starts at the top, is to set a goal for getting more women into first-level management. We've seen great strides in setting those goals for upper management for women, and those goals need to trickle down now for getting women in at the manager level. The same issue goes for hiring and promotions. Caring for young women who are faced with the choice of becoming working mother is something that can help solve this step too. No longer will a woman need to feel she should step out of the workforce and neglect her talents in business because she is worried she won't be able to progress in her career. Remove the challenges that they face from their families. Remove the challenges they face from getting promotions. And there is a clear path for our companies to decrease the gender disparity. At NCSoft, I decided to run an in-house daycare center. in our headquarters building. I placed our daycare in the sunniest spot of the building, right in the middle, and designed the interior to facilitate children's brain development by filling it with age-appropriate stimuli. To ease the guilt of working mom that comes from not exposing their children to the best and diverse education opportunities, we offer age-appropriate language, music, storytelling, and yoga programs provided by qualified and experienced teachers. 3 on-site chefs prepare children's meals 3 times a day using organic ingredients. We open the nursery from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. so that those who have to drop off their kids at the nursery are not late to their 9 a.m. meetings, and also can have work dinners with their colleagues when they need to. To ensure the quality of interactions with the children, we hired all 50 teachers as full-time employees at NCSoft and provide a resting area dedicated to the nursery teachers. When we first started, we did not know much about providing daycare. But we knew our key goal was to put children and their needs first, and to incorporate the parents as much as we can. We call our daycare Laughing Peanuts, and it's one of our greatest success, and one that we're quite proud of. We believe that no woman could perform at her best or reach her full potential if she must constantly worry about children and be on standby in case there are phone calls from nursery. Because of this effort, we saw the percentage of female employees who returned from maternity leave increased from 61% in 2014 to 82% in 2018. While South Korea has a very low fertility rate, one of the lowest among OECD countries, our statistics show that parents who send 2 kids to our on-site nursery had the 3rd child 80% of the time. I share this story not to imply that everyone should run out and start an in-office daycare. I share to show that there are ways that we can, as female business leaders, can be brave enough to implement changes to help mend that broken rung for our female talent. Diversity initiatives become more commonplace at the top of the ladder, but still lag behind in the early career stages. Linen also suggests hiring promotion evaluators undergo unconscious bias training. Eliminating these biases for evaluators is something that has been shown to help reduce gender disparity in the workplace. Managers also need to step up to challenge bias in the workplace, to value people's differences, and address disrespectful behavior toward women. Leaders should establish clear evaluation criteria for all employees to prevent biases from creeping in, and use objective, measurable input. And the most direct of all solutions, put more women in line for step to managers. It's simple. The more women in the pipeline at entry managerial levels means more women with experience to become board members down the line. There is so much talent in this room, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and creative solutions to setting up women for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunyi. You have actually shared with us a number of very important initiatives that through intentional leadership, many companies around the world, all companies around the world can actually undertake. I think I've decided that I would like to come back as the child of one of your employees to experience this wonderful nursery school and daycare. So we'll see how successful I am on that. Before we jump into the panel, Christine has asked me to share a little bit about my story as well. So I have been with Catalyst for the last 4 years. And for those who are not familiar with Catalyst, we are a global nonprofit, and our mission is to advance progress for women in the workplace. We do our work around the world, and we actually partner with an organization in Korea, across Asia, in fact, called Community Business, that also has a network of leaders called Diane. And we partner with them to bring our research and our tools and insights to the Asian market. Our work is research-based, so we work directly with companies around the world to help them identify barriers and then diagnose and tackle those barriers that might be holding women back in the workplace, including the biases that both Vicky and Song-Yi discussed. We help them with structural barriers and also with cultural barriers. And needless to say, that work takes time. It is a multi-year commitment, and it requires both the intentional leadership of women, but also very much of men to appreciate the talent that is in this room, the talent the world over that women bring to the table, and to put in place the kinds of intentional actions that Song-Yi has referenced. Now, I came to Catalyst 4 years ago from the for-profit world. I had previously been a partner with a professional services firm, and I too had experienced bias in my career a little bit differently from Vicky and Song-Yi, but the themes will be very much the same. I had been with my professional services firm for 5 years, and I was identified as someone who would be up for global partnership. And I was identified at the same time as a colleague, one of my colleagues who happened to be a man. We had both been at the firm for the same length of time. We had both contributed equal value in all respects. And partway through the assessment process, there's a big global assessment process that goes along with this, I was pulled aside by a senior partner, and he informed me that there was some concern that I might not be ready for the global partnership because as a mother, I might not be able to keep up the pace of travel that was expected of a partner in the firm, which was curious to me. And if I'm honest, I had a bit of a panic attack because I thought that my chances were disappearing quickly. But it was curious to me because I was a mother of 2, and my male colleague was a parent of 3 children, and no one had pulled him aside to suggest that they were concerned about his travel patterns, given that he was a parent as well. And so I went back to my desk. I literally documented 5 years of business travel, the frequency, the places I went to, the sort of the beck and call that I was on for clients. And I presented that a couple of days later to this senior partner who took it away. And ultimately I was successful in joining the partnership, and the issue was never mentioned again, but it did leave me wondering, why had I been identified as this sort of risk candidate because I was a parent, and yet this other colleague, it never even came up in conversation. And it was from there that I started to really think, had I been blind to this whole gender issue over time? And looking back, I think I was. I graduated many years ago, and my graduating class was 50-50 men and women. In fact, many people don't know that in Canada, 58% of university graduates are women, and that has been the case for 25 years in this country. And yet only just over 3% of CEOs in Canada are women. So in very much the same way that Vicky mentioned, that statistically getting 2% of all venture capital money when you represent 51% of the population is impossible unless there are other forces at play. The same would be true of the educational outcomes for women in this country relative to the professional outcomes, at least from a seniority perspective. So these things started to weigh on me quite heavily. And 4 years ago, I decided to leave my professional services career and join Catalyst, move from the for-profit to the not-for-profit side. And in my initial role, I led Catalyst's mission in Canada, which meant working with companies across the country to affect structural and cultural change. And more recently, I've taken on a global role where I'm now responsible for Catalyst relationships with companies around the world. And we work with about 900 organizations around the world trying to affect this change. Naturally, that has cultural nuances and differences depending on the country that we are operating in. but we have a common mission, which is to advance outcomes for women in the workplace, to ensure that the systems are there to support them, to thrive, to advance, to fix the broken rung that Song-Yi has referred to make sure that that is not getting in the way of advancing this incredible pool of talent that we know we have the world over. So I'm delighted to be here with you, and I'm also delighted to be your moderator for this evening's panel. So as we launch into the panel, I'd like to invite Minister Mary Ng back into the conversation to join us. And Vicky and Song-Yi, if you could come back on camera. I now have the good pleasure of moderating a broad panel, and we do, hello everybody. We do, everyone has a nice background. You may not be able to see, but my dog is actually sleeping behind me. So hopefully he won't bark. So I have the good fortune of moderating this wonderful panel, and I'd like to encourage all the delegates to please share their questions as we go. We will do our best to mix in audience questions with the questions I have for the panelists. So please do share those, and I will be bouncing back and forth between those. Now, Minister Ng, if I could start with you. We are fortunate in Canada to know that your government has put in place a tremendous number of supports for women-led businesses, for women entrepreneurs, small business owners and founders. But maybe you could talk a little bit more about what you see the role of international trade being in the overall success of these businesses, the success of women entrepreneurs.
Well, hi, Tanya. It's great to be here with you. Hey, Vic, how's it going? And Song-Yi, it's really terrific to meet you as well. And you know, this is an area where it's such a joy to be able to talk about international trade. Well, being the Minister of both small business and international trade, almost by definition gives you an explanation of sort of where I come from on this, and certainly where the government comes from. Many of our businesses, particularly women-owned businesses or women entrepreneurs, are small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses. And really the work is to help our Canadian small businesses, women entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses. And Canada, while we are a vast country, in geography, we are about 37 million. We're about 37 million people, and yet at the same time, Canada has created these incredible opportunities through trade agreements. We have access to about 2/3 of the global economy. So these trading agreements that actually give our businesses access to market blocks like, in the European Union or in Asia Pacific or here in North America through agreements like CPTPP, CETA, the new NAFTA, which is what I like to call it. But what does it really mean? It means, trade agreements are our customers. And I just said that Canada's 37 million, just, a little over that in population. So our market is pretty limited. But when you think about 1.5 billion customers that we have preferential access to through those agreements, that's why international trade is important. But having these trade agreements is only part of the equation. You heard me say earlier that the number of women entrepreneurs in our country will increase, and that's what this work is about. But helping them scale their businesses and get access to those market opportunities, those customers in the global marketplace, like this mission in South Korea, is the opportunity for international trade. And the last plug I would say, and I would make, is that we have been very deliberate in the way in which we've negotiated trade agreements. We have negotiated high standards for inclusiveness, so chapters that are specific to provide access for SMEs, market access for women entrepreneurs. So this is really important because this means it's that pathway to help our businesses get those business opportunities. So that's why international trade is important. It's really a simple equation. It's customers. There's a lot to get our women entrepreneurs ready, supported. But why is international trade important? because it's customers, and it will give our businesses and our women entrepreneurs the opportunity to grow.
Great. And so let me ask you a follow-on question from the audience. As a Canadian importer, what is your advice on how to partner with international companies who want to enter the Canadian market?
That's a terrific question. You heard me earlier talk about Trade Canada or Canada Trade. I think of enormous assets that we have here in the federal government that really is that toolbox. And in that toolbox, the Trade Commissioner Service. I would say get in touch with the Trade Commissioner Service. They can help you, point you in the right direction. If you're looking to partner with a with a collaborator, with a business partner, a business collaborator, in one of internationally, get in touch with our Trade Commissioner Service, and let them help you through this.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So if I could turn to you, can you tell us why business missions like this are so important in support of women entrepreneurs in the Korean context?
Well, I mean, I think it's in any international market is difficult to navigate to anyone. And I think this mission provides a pathway into the market. And I think for women entrepreneurs, I think we should support each other. So for the success of other entrepreneurs and who probably does understand the type of industry that we are in, because we have unique sense into the needs of the market. So in all of that, I think the female entrepreneurs in another market will be an excellent partner when you start getting into an international marketplace. And I think I'm really grateful that the Canadian government is supporting this mission to help forming those partnerships.
Thank you. Vicki, you talked about radical generosity and this ability to take the money and keep it rolling forward. When you think about your, I think, extremely innovative model, are there learnings from that model that can be applied to larger organizations, aka governments, in how they support women entrepreneurialism?
Well, I do want to actually give Mondo kudos to the minister, because she took this very innovative approach, which we haven't seen in other countries around the world, this ecosystem-based approach, where it looked at who are the partners out there who are national in scope and working at levels. And then we're all now connected together. So the way that the funding was done, instead of going all to one entity, but really being spread widely, has allowed us to actually sort of rise up opportunities from coast to coast and start to create a lot of interconnections. So I think that part has been really interesting. And one of the things that has been really interesting for us to, as we're growing SheEO to other countries, is people are paying attention to what's happening in Canada. It's like, how did this start in Canada? And what else is like, what can we learn from you? And so we almost feel like we're a bit of a test case for other countries to pay attention to, and then start to replicate that in other areas. And so I think there's a very, we have an open dialogue, which I don't think has really happened in the past between women entrepreneurs and the government. And especially during COVID, this government has been unbelievable. This is like not a partisan thing. It's just like watching how all kinds of new channels have opened up to have conversations that we couldn't have before. A lot of small businesses are strapped for time, and haven't had a chance to be sort of advocating to government in a regular way. And when COVID hit, we had someone from our organization and our community on calls every single morning into the finance office with 1,000 other people across the country, trying in real time to co-create strategy for small business during this time. So that was a phenomenal thing that's never happened before. It totally stretched my brain, because I'm like, oh, okay, don't think org, now think like, okay, what do you do for 20 million people? And what are the best practices, and how much might you do that? So an opening of a dialogue is something that we had advocated for a long time. And I think this is the time of the pandemic has really opened that up, and we've seen other governments sort of follow that as well. So really grateful for that very quick nimbleness, which government is not necessarily known for, but it's everyone's having to work at a really fast pace now.
Great, thank you. So actually, Ministering, I'll bounce it back to you. As you would know, as many would know, this recession has been termed a she session for reasons I think we are all familiar with. And so in the she recovery, which I would like to focus on, what are the things that your government are putting in place to empower and support women-led businesses?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. I mean, Vicky just reminded me of what the every single day at 11 o'clock was like here. I would be remiss if I didn't continue to take every opportunity I can to thank my team and to thank the incredible departmental colleagues that I have here who support Canadian businesses in this listening, in this ability to adapt and to be as nimble as one can be, particularly when you are the big federal government. And in a lot of that listening, what we have right now and what you are seeing from our government is just the consistency of support to help our businesses, and particularly our female-led businesses, our racialized businesses, our Indigenous businesses, get through this period. And the reason it is the fight that we're fighting is COVID-19 right now. It is fighting this pandemic. And our view is we're going to support our businesses. We're going to be there for them, have their back all the way along. And it was really important to me and to the government that when this pandemic hit, that the gains we were making, the gains like this through the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy, that we don't lose those gains. We were beginning to get wind behind our sails alongside so many businesses, particularly the female-led businesses. And I've talked to many, virtually across the country, of course. And Vicky's session on a Sunday, I dropped into one. And it is remarkable, the conversations that are taking place, but it's really through those conversations that I hear two things. One, that the struggle is it's real, it's hard. Women more than anybody is wearing, you wear a lot of hats. We wear a lot of hats under normal circumstances. During a global pandemic, you're wearing those hats, you're juggling those hats, and you're trying to figure out how the heck to, make sure one of those hats don't fall, because it's your children, it's your parents, it is your loved ones. So it's been hard. I mean, so for a women-owned business, imagine that you are there worrying about your family, worrying about your kids, trying to make sure that your kids are getting to their studies, but sitting over there while you're trying to run your business over here, sort of, at home and that sort of thing. So it's been tough. But the bottom line is we'll continue to put the programs out that we need to bridge through this period. And in our throne speech, we have committed that as part of the continual support for Canadian businesses and women entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses, we're going to keep doing this work of supporting you through this time to bridge you through. And then through missions like this, we are seeing opportunities. So there are opportunities amidst this. Vicky talked about the incredible work that she and others are doing, which is about radical generosity and how do we help one another? Well, it's a bit of the same philosophy that we are taking, and we're going to just double down and keep doing this and get ourselves, sort of through this, because I actually believe that by doing that, we are going to be way more competitive, and we're going to position Canada in a good place to that economic recovery.
The she recovery.
The she recovery. That's right.
I'm gonna keep saying it until everybody says it. So we have a question from the audience around whether you anticipate having tech-specific government programs in place for women entrepreneurs. Do you see that as a specific stream the government will pursue?
Yeah, I think that, the answer is yes, because even before COVID-19, we have seen economies shift into the knowledge-based economy. And if there's one thing that I hear a lot of, and that around the world, and certainly here in Canada, is how important digital is, how important e-commerce is, and how important it is for those businesses, particularly women-owned businesses, in that technology space. So we need to keep working, and we need to keep working to understand the particular exigencies for women-led tech companies, but all of our tools are continue to go on, are firing at all cylinders to help our women-led businesses, and tech businesses are no different, but no different in terms of the overall support. And there may very well be need to be some particularized support. So we will continue to work with those businesses which absolutely have the chart ways into what the future economy is.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Song-Yi, question for you. You have shared with us the kinds of interventions that you've put in place at NCSoft, including this wonderful school for employees' children. What do you see more of that kind of effort, initiative taking place in Korea? And if not, or if it's slow, what sort of conditions do you feel need to be present in Korea? What kind of change needs to happen in order for us to see more of that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think it's a very good question. And after witnessing the success and the impact that a daycare facility can have, I actively shared knowledge and learning with others. We published it as a book. We shared the playbook. We invited other people on site to see what can be done. And to my rather disappointment, I heard a lot of agreement from other peers, other CEOs and presidents, but they couldn't see the subtle difference. So for example, I emphasize how important it is to open it at 8 a.m. to beyond 6 p.m. so that mother of two children do not have to be always late for the 9 a.m. meeting in the morning. But most of my peers and other the CEOs who are predominantly male, they said, oh, it's a great idea. I see that it's working. But then instead of implementing that subtle nuances, they said, oh, it's a good idea to have a daycare facility on site and outsource it to a for-profit organization, which again has to run it from 9 to 5 and 9 to 6 because it's a different service. And as a matter of fact, Korean government put a regulation that if you are a company of beyond certain size, more than, I don't remember the number, I don't remember the exact number, but it's more than 500 employees, you have to provide the daycare service to your employees, which is a great regulation. But I think that the real value really is dependent on implementing, meeting the kind of exact need of the female employees so that they can fully trust the daycare service as their partner in working on their job during the day. So I think it's a good progress, but I have a higher standard. I want it to be better, but I think we are making some progress there.
so interesting, right? If you try and solve a problem with the same set of kind of guidelines each way without understanding, as you said, the nuanced differences and the needs of that particular group, whether it's gender, race, ethnicity, ability, what have you, you will find yourself with a half solution, not a properly informed solution. That's a great example.
Yeah.
We have, Sonia, for you from the audience, we have the following question. Do you notice any trend of Korean women turning to entrepreneurship in order to mitigate their limited opportunities in existing organizations?
Right. It's another very good question. And also, I mean, to kind of continue the discussion from the previous question, and I think that's the reason why we need more leaders at the top in a position to make decisions, decisions for both male and female employees, because there are things that the female leaders can notice better and put the right policy in place. And I think it's a great observation that as well. It's a number of things. One is that smart female young talents, they see how much progress that they can make in the male-dominated organizations. And in the past, they used to choose professional service firms or international organizations where there are less firm biases. But I think today, I see that more young talents choose to start with startups. And that's all on top of that, kind of the challenges that they foresee. They now see that the perception has changed and the society has improved so that they can actually be respected as a leader of the organization. So, like as recent as 20, 30 years ago, it was a challenge to have a female as your manager or a leader. When I was working at a consulting firm, I was told in my face that like the executive, a big conglomerate said that they cannot receive a consulting from our team because they cannot be consulted by a woman. And but I think these days, I think more the society has opened up more. People are more open-minded. So female entrepreneurs do not have as much challenge as recruiting, inviting talents from both genders, which is critical for their scaling up. Because they cannot be dependent on only one gender to scale up their company. And I'm really I'm really excited to see like some of the unicorn companies in Korea led by female entrepreneurs in their 20s, and I think it's a great trend to see.
Thank you. And it is a bit of it is Vicky's model. If the model doesn't work, then go make your own model and make it work for you, right? I think that that's very much the CEO model, and if the great talent will make different choices. And I think large organizations need to understand that they will be kicking themselves later when they see that great talent launch themselves in a different direction. Vicky, you touched on it, whether you would bring CEO to South Korea or not. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your plans to expand globally and what conditions you need in a market in order to make CEO a success.
Yeah, so we do things a little different, like everything that we're doing in terms of expansion. So we don't sort of put a map out and say, okay, we're going to go to these 5 countries and then these 5 countries. The way that we do things is we, quote unquote, follow the energy. And so if people start emailing us from a country and won't stop emailing us from a country, then we go to that country. So it's very much what's happening locally. Is there excellent local leadership that's very excited about this model? That's well connected, diverse backgrounds. So people that are connected to entrepreneurs, connected to people that have lots of expertise to share. But our activators in our community are ranging in all ages from 11 to 95. We have mothers, daughters, grandmothers, business people, not people that aren't in business, just all coming together to support. So we look for excellent local leadership that can actually enroll people to be part of this model and come forward. And so the way that we've started to see expansion start to happen now is that people who are in South Korea, maybe soon you'll like join in here, become an activator in a country that we're already in, get an experience, and then that helps you to better articulate what the model is for people locally to get them engaged. So we're starting to see people from countries all over the world become activators in one of our operating countries, which is amazing. But it's never a sort of top-down thing. It's like, is there a whole cohort of women locally in that country that want to support? I think the other piece that has been interesting, particularly in the Asian market, is we've had a lot of people that are in the diaspora in other countries wanting to support bringing this model to their home country when they're living somewhere else. So it's a bit early days for us in terms of what this is going to look like, but we're very hopeful in 2022 that we'll really start to expand much more to Asia and to Africa. So.
Okay, that's amazing. And so for those delegates on the call, remember that you just have to email Vicky incessantly in order to build the movement. You can thank me for that later. Minister Ng, we're going to close with a question for you if we can.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit more about the recent grant announcement you made for female women small business funding. I think you mentioned it earlier. I wonder if you can give us a little bit more insight into that.
Yeah, happy to. During COVID-19, as I said earlier, very early on, and immediately we started, the first thing we did was put supports out to help Canadians. We needed to flatten this curve. We needed to do it as Team Canada. And immediately we put supports out to Canadians. Our view is that is what we needed to do to keep everyone safe. And right alongside of that is small businesses that are literally, I mean, what community, what town, what city do you go into where you don't see small businesses? They're everywhere across the country. So we put those emergency supports in, and what we did with the ecosystem that Vicky is a part of, the Asia Pacific Foundation is a part of, many regional ecosystems across the country. We're building this incredible network of support, which is just very different across the country and in different regions of the country, and they needed some additional support to make sure that they were helping and continuing to do the work that they needed to, that they were already doing. So it was a $15 million add to the ecosystems that already operate. Earlier today, the Prime Minister and I made an announcement to pivot Can Export, of course, and I think that's an important feature for those who are here today. This is particularly for businesses who are looking for that up to $75,000 to go and to get the resources to help them enter into an international market. And in particular, we've created a dedicated focus here so that there is specific support for women entrepreneurs and Indigenous entrepreneurs. So, those are a couple of the things just off the top, but we're going to keep working on this. The Prime Minister has given me an ambitious target, and I'm not going to let COVID-19 stop us from continuing to do this work, which is to double the number of female entrepreneurs in our country. So you're on this road, we're on this road together, and we're just going to keep supporting you so that I very much see it as your success is the country's success and is our success. So we're just going to keep doing this.
Amazing. Love that target. Double. Thank you. Thank you, Minister Ng. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Song-Yi, for sharing your evening with us and your stories and programs and initiatives. And I think I'm now turning it back to Christine.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journeys with us and for enabling this rich and thought-provoking discussion. Well, I think that the stories are fascinating, and I'm sure that the audience appreciated very much the information that you shared with us. Well, this brings to a close the formal part of our Day 1 program. Next on the agenda is the rapid fire meet and greet networking session using our automated matching application. As one of our project's objectives is to grow the network of entrepreneurs with contacts across Canada and around the globe, we hope that you'll take advantage of this opportunity. You'll be directed to a series of meetings over the next 30 minutes with other attendees, and each session will be 3 minutes in duration. So one final reminder for tomorrow before I close, Day 2 of our mission, is that we will be presenting the delegate pitch series titled Showcasing Canadian Innovation, which will start at 7 p.m. sharp using the same hop-in link that you used today to log in. Our dynamic delegates will provide short presentations about their innovative products and services and why they are targeting the South Korean market. So we hope to see all of you here tomorrow and on time. Kamsahamnida and enjoy your networking session. Thank you and have a great day.